Okie dokie. I have removed the graphics processor for both of these guys. I know which one was in the good board. This one with the CG or whatever was in the good board, and the one with 3.1 was the one that was in the bad board. So I've got them both removed. I'm just going to do some swapping. I'm going to socket them and swap them. I was just talking to myself earlier while I was desoldering these guys. This was a pretty ambitious console by Coleco back in the day. You know, it's like it really is like a mini hardware for a arcade game. You know, you have a graphics processor with its own video RAM. You got your CPU with its own RAM, reading the ROM and executing the code and everything, and just pretty impressive for the day. No wonder I didn't have one back then. These things probably cost a lot. So yeah, it's no wonder I didn't have one of these. We were an Atari family, as most were, really. I mean, you had to be pretty up there, really. You had to be pretty cool or something to have a Coleco back in the day. Okay. Now we got it tacked, we can just hammer on down. So the first thing I'm going to do is fire up the Coleco that was tested good with the opposite graphics chip in it. And then if that doesn't tell me, if that chip's good, then I'm going to put the fluke on the bad one and try to do some RAM checks and BIOS ROM. See if I can read the BIOS ROM and the CPU's working RAM. I have those ranges and everything, that information right here. Okay, and this was the good one. So we're going to put the one with 3.1. This guy right here is going to go in here. This is the one that was in the bad Coleco. That's it. Okay, set that aside and move on to this guy. This was our dead Coleco. At some point today is Sunday. No, today's Saturday. This weekend, I am going to be starting a Battle Zone repair for a customer. Of course, it's not mine. Always fun to do Battle Zone boards. I like Battle Zone. Battle Zone's an awesome game. I used to have a Battle Zone game. Back in the day when I was collecting games, I had a nice Battle Zone that I sold when I live in Michigan. And I lived in Flint, Michigan for about 9 years. And when I was there, I had a little house, a little tiny house. It's smaller than the house I have now, I think. But I had a basement. And I had about 13, 14 games in that basement. And Battlezone was one of them. I cannot imagine thinking now about getting a Battlezone game down that little basement stairway that I had. I was younger then. I was 15 years younger too, you know. But unbelievable. You know, this thing was a tank. No pun intended. But yeah, I sold that Battlezone game for $350 about 10 years ago. 11, 12 years ago maybe. $350 for nicely working Battlezone. I had a Berserk that I sold for $150. $150. But back then, you could get... I bought a working Omega Race for $150. Working. Back in the day. That was in the basement too. Omega Race. I had a Armor Attack. This is a funny story. I wanted an Armor Attack in the worst way because Armor Attack, my friend Todd has an Armor Attack. An Armor Attack, if you don't know that game, it's a vector game by Cinematronics, and it is awesome. I love it. And I wanted an Armor Attack, and I found on eBay someone was selling an Armor Attack game for like $400. But the cabinet was really rough. It was really bad. So I talked to them and I was like, hey, will you strip that game? And I know this is not something I would want to do now, but back then, yeah, I did this. I said, I'll buy the game if you'll strip it and ship it to me in like pieces. So they did. They stripped that whole thing down. Everything except for the cabinet was sent to me for $400, and I paid like $100 shipping, which was pretty cheap at the time. I mean, considering they shipped the monitor, everything, the board set, the monitor, the wiring harness, the control panel, the marquee, everything, wiring, everything. Boxed it all up in like 2 big boxes and shipped it to me. And I had a cabinet. And I don't remember what kind of cabinet it was, but it was an empty black cabinet. And it was in nice shape. I can't even remember what it was. It wasn't stern, it was smaller than that. But it like looked like the original cabinet, you know. Even though Armor Attack had a white cabinet, it looked like it. And I converted that cabinet. I put all of that Cinematronics Armor Attack guts into that cabinet. And it looked OG. I mean, it looked really good. And I sold that for like $150. No, I didn't. No, I sold that one for more than that. But I don't remember exactly how much. But the point being, I had a bad flood when I lived in Flint, and I knew I wanted to get the hell out of Flint. In every game, I had like 2 feet of water come back up into my basement. And so I got discouraged and I dumped every one of my games. I got rid of every game that I had. Cheap. On the cheap. Because I didn't want to move them. And I wanted to get the hell out of there. And I did not want to move the games. You talk about kicking yourself in the ass years later. You know. Just ridiculous. Should have never done that. I gave those things away. I gave them games away, guys. I was like, here, I'll pay you to come and take them. Almost. Todd got a couple of them. I think. Yeah, he got the. I gave him the Omega Race. And maybe something else. I don't remember. Okay. So now we're going to be ready to try these things out. So let's move on over to the TV, hook this thing all up, and see what we got. Okay, guys, so this is my good Colecovision that I took these two guys out of, and this is the chip from the bad Colecovision, and it's turned on, and it works just fine. So now I'm going to go ahead, swap this stuff around, try this guy, and verify that it's still dead, which it will be, but I just want to verify. Alright, be right back. Okay, so I've got this guy turned on. With this, I know this is good. And we still get dead screen. So I'm going to put the fluke on this guy and see if I can successfully get to those two items. Alright, we're hooked up with the fluke on the Coleco. And interestingly enough, right away trying to do this CPU's RAM range of 6000 to 63 FF. No access at all. So let's try the ROM. Let's go ROM at 0 to 1 FFF. And that signature is ECC9. See if our decoding to the ROM is good anyway. I do have a schematic. I found schematics for this. So if it's just, I would imagine this being such a small system, the decoding is kind of probably shared. So I'm kind of expecting this to not work. Yeah. F260. Let's do it again. F260. Let's see if it's random. If it's random, that would tell me that the chip really isn't reliably being selected. And if it is, then it would tell me that there's a data path error. Yeah, it's random. This is a flat-out decoding issue. So I'm going to look at the schematic and find out what the decoding circuitry is for this guy, and we'll fix this thing. Okay, so here is the schematic, and you can see you have the Z80 right here, and this stuff is pulled high. NMI is from someplace. The CPU clock. We will have to check the CPU clock. We have a, okay. This refresh signal comes through here, through the 7404 to enable this line. The selecting is being done by the address, which I know is fine. We have an external enable of some sort. I'm sure that's fine. And then we have another enable here coming from mem request, which I know that's got to be good because my Z80s are good. So my suspect right now really is U22, this guy, the 04, or the encoder itself, the decoder itself. This is a 3 to 8 line decoder right here, a 138. And that's kind of what I'm suspecting. So what I'll do is I'll hammer this range. I'll hammer the RAM range with my fluke. And I'll use the scope to watch and see if this thing's doing anything. I'll probe this right here. And I'll probe this right here. These two elements is what I'm going to be looking at. You know, I'm going to make sure all of the enables are good. I know these will be toggling as long as it's got a clock. As long as the clock is good. And, you know, go from here with this stuff. So yeah, that is where we'll do. That's what we'll do. So I'm being attacked by my cat. Boo Boo is really cuddly today. She's just all over. So I will start looking at that. Let's check it out. Okay, I'll let you watch the scope. I got the fluke armed and ready. I'm going to go ahead and turn the Coleco on. Okay, it is on. I don't really see any. Oh, it's not on. Now it's on. Let's do a run. I'm just gonna try running this thing, see if we get some toggling. Yeah. Yeah, it's working. It's working as far as signals go. My glasses. Okay. Okay, let's see. Right there is okay. Those are address lines, I think. Yeah, 1, 2, and 3 are address lines. 4, 5, and 6 are the enables. So one, two. That's an LS74. Goodness gracious. I was like, that don't seem right. That's a 74. Alright, now let's look at this 04. This is that 04, remember? And what was it, 13 out to 12? It doesn't matter, we'll look at every one of them. Okay. Well, that doesn't look very good, does it? Come on. Okay, and it's out right there, which looks, I mean, that looks really good. I don't get the input, but whatever. Moving on. Good. Good. Okay. Okay. This was that signal, which looks fine. 13 out to 12. So on to this 138. 1, 2, and 3 are the selects. Four, 5, 6. So I want to look really quick at 4, 5, and 6. 4 is high, 5 is low, 6 is toggling. I'll be right back. I just want to 4, 5, and 6 on that schematic. It's got to be low, low, high. All right, 4, 5, 6 has to be low, low, high. And that is not. 4 is high. That's not enabled. I want to go to RAM, and I'm just going to loop RAM. I'm going to read at 6,000, and I'm going to loop it. So 4, 5, 6. 4 is my problem. Pin 4 should be low. I got nothing. I got no enabling of this chip. Pin 4 is pulled high. I'm going to look at what pin 4 is. I think it's a CPU signal. Yeah. Yeah. Pin 4 is memory request from the CPU. So that should not be stuck high. So I'm kind of thinking that this chip, this is 138, I mean that signal is directly from the fluke right now. Pin 4. That's not the socket. That's why I got no outputs. I got no enabling outputs out of this 138. So I honestly think at this point that 138's got to be stuck high. I think pin 4 is just pulled high and stuck high internally. So I'm going to stop, I'm going to unhook this, and I'm going to replace this 138. And then we'll see what we got. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this off. Turn that off. Stop the fluke. Okay. And I'll come back